Welcome to another live stream, my friends. Well, guys, Bitcoin sells off right back towards our Friday lows, which is exactly what I've been waiting for, as well as where I've been targeting for my shorts recently. When we tested my purple box, I actually took profit off 3 of my Bitcoin shorts, but still holding on to one in case we do end up dumping right through this support here. But I've actually began laddering into a bit of a long position as well. Those of you guys who are in my Telegram, you would have been alerted in the, well, for me, it was the middle of the night basically, but you would have been alerted that basically as we were hitting my purple support box, which I've been outlining all week for you guys, ended up starting to ladder into a position. So I've got more orders down below in my green box because I was also looking for a potential swing fail if we could lose that wick low and then end up getting some sort of a reclaim. That would have been great as well to hit some more of my orders, but so far only got one of them. We never did quite hit the 886. We got very close to it, but I actually don't even have an order there just because this is a bigger range. It is quite volatile. I have the majority of my orders down here just to keep my risk management tight, basically, but also willing to take some more scalps on the way with a little higher leverage. But so far, just playing with, I'm only using 5x leverage on this. And honestly, that's probably what most people shouldn't use leverage until they're comfortable spot trading in general. But, generally speaking, I like to trade on, the 69x, the 50x, some high leverage like that, typically trading shorter time frames. But as I mentioned with my swing position here, I am keeping the leverage much more, just a lot more conservative, basically, because guys, I've been talking about this with some altcoins and even Bitcoin now after that huge volatile move there. It really brought volatility back to the market. I know it's devastating what happened to a lot of people, but as traders, if you were prepared for this, those of you in my live streams, those of you in my Telegram and that sort of stuff, this is a breath of fresh air, honestly, to see such great volatility. And really, the price action has not been doing anything crazy, you guys. Those of you who have been following along know that I've been nailing most of the major moves. I was long here, I was short here, I am still short here, but I also had taken a few scalps on the way down. Just been all over this trend because it's been such a healthy trend, in my opinion. And I know that sounds crazy, you guys, because it doesn't look healthy if you want it to be bullish. But as far as looking at macro market structure, nothing crazy was happening. We even got that same setup twice in a row. So we might even end up getting it a third time if we bounce. So be careful of that. But nothing crazy happened. It's quite often, you guys, and I was talking about this in my last couple of streams as well. Often people love to consider this a scam wick and say, oh, that was just a scam wick. That's not going to happen. We're not going back to those levels. Honestly, guys, more often than not, from my experience anyways, I see that those wicks tend to fill. Those wicks are a warning where the price is going to end up trending to. But in a much slower, more sustained way. It's just a bit of a warning, right? Now you can see that rather than it just happening again really quickly, we are actually getting candle bodies closing in this area and going down towards that support. So that's basically why I was considering this, even though we never actually broke a lower high on this trend. Why I'm still pulling this as if it's a Stuber with that fib, just because I thought, if we do end up filling this wick, there's a good chance we get some sort of a bounce. So basically looking as I would pull any fib, and those of you guys in my Telegram are well aware of that, how I pull fibs so often. I like to start looking for support at a 786 or looking for resistance at a 786, depending which way I'm pulling, whether it's a bearish fib or a bullish fib. But yeah, basically nothing crazy here. We ended up testing my purple box, never got down to my green box. That's fine. If we bounce from here, I got some in. If we go lower, then I'll get the rest of my position in there. So I'm happy either way. But even looking, let's zoom right into the 5 minute, you guys. Just look at how healthy this looks, really. We got our dip into my purple box here, and then we ended up breaking this lower high, basically, right? Because we had a low here, lower low here, confirmed lower high here. We've broke that. So that's one of those times where we actually have microstructure lining up with the macro structure, right? My 5 minute support, or where we're breaking a 5 minute downtrend, is right along a 4 hour support zone. So I love to see that kind of confluence there. And then to see the MDX trend master here giving me a buy signal, that's just a little more strength there. Something to be careful with on that one is, obviously, since we have a much lower buy signal, it's possible we end up just getting a lower sell signal and we end up actually getting rejected quite quickly on this rally. It's absolutely possible. At this point, the Algo Master is showing a bullish Stuber scalp opportunity if we would end up coming back down basically to this, basically to where we found support with our last buy signal here. Basically coming back down to those levels, it's suggesting that there's a potential bullish pocket down there. But I know yesterday, before this had refreshed, it was actually pulling a fib from up here. And I totally agree with that. As far as looking for resistance, we are technically starting to get close to some lower time frame resistance levels. But I think that, you know what? I would not be too surprised to see Bitcoin get some sort of a bounce. So you guys know that I have been very, very vocally bearish since before that big Friday capitulation, right? We were ahead. I did a live stream about it when I was shorting at 125.2K. We were ahead of the game. We were ready for that move 2 days in advance. And yeah, it happened a lot faster than I was expecting, but the move I was expecting did happen because we came down and grabbed all the liquidity to the downside. So now that's another thing that has got my attention right now, basically on the 4 hour, you guys, with the MDX liquidations indicator, just looking for where is the liquidity? Where would the market maker want to go to be able to grab some liquidity? Well, we are starting to see so much of it form above us at this point. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see more start showing up here as people start shorting into support like they generally do, because people get very nervous at support. People think support looks weak, so they start shorting into it. Just like with resistance, right? People love longing into resistance because the price looks strong in that case. So just the opposite there. And so basically, if retail starts shorting heavily into this level or on some sort of a bounce, at that point, I assume that we would basically end up reversing and going to the downside again, or just carrying on to the downside, setting new lows. But it's also possible that, like I said, we end up just kind of creating more liquidity above us. And just notice where it is right now. Notice where all the liquidity is. First of all, the nearest liquidity as far as a continued move to the downside. It's possible we still go down to my green box. And another reason why I still have orders down there is because there is still some lower leverage. I'm not sure if that's the 10x or the 20x liquidation pocket there. But right around 101K. But that is in my swing fail pocket there. So just another reason why maybe the market maker wants to grab that before going to the upside and grabbing all this trapped liquidity up here as people start shorting as we get to support, right? So I'm still, you guys, honestly, I have my concerns with Bitcoin where it is in the market. I personally think we have started a bear market. I'm happy to be wrong about that. I am positioned for either way. You know, I still have some spot bags. I still hold most of my investments. But as far as trading, I'm much more focused on looking for those swings to the downside, basically. However, willing to take the bullish ones as I see them, because I'll trade the charts. I don't really care. I'm pretty good at putting my emotions aside. So just kind of taking it one trade at a time, or in this case, two. So I'm in a very relaxed position right now, because if we bounce, then at least I'm in a nice long. But if we end up losing this support and my long gets stopped out, then my short's just going to take over and continue going to the downside. Because if we lose this level, I mean, she could be lights out for Bitcoin, you guys. At that point, I would seriously have my concerns. On the weekly time frame, we're currently losing a bit of creating a breaker block where we're losing this support where the last time. So let's actually, this can be a little bit handy sometimes, you guys, if you want to get rid of the wicks. Now, when I pull fibs and when I look at structure, I'm generally keeping the wicks in there. But you can turn the wicks off if you want to see where the closes are actually happening. And notice this is the last stance that basically the bears tried to make to the downside before setting new highs, right? So the bulls took over. We ended up closing higher daily candles. So this was our order block at that point. But the fact is that now it is really looking like, and I mean, there's a couple days left, so we'll see how Sunday closes, but it's really looking like we are losing that level. And if we lose that level, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see us bounce and retest that that block as resistance, basically. So we're going to have to see what happens with that. I do want to get my wicks back on because I typically keep my wicks. But another thing that I've been pointing out, guys, for many videos, many streams now, is just that a lot of people are comparing this dump to the COVID crash. The COVID crash, we actually came down to the actual liquidations band indicator. That's kind of a liquidations reset. Like altcoins, yeah, altcoins had a big liquidation reset. But as far as Bitcoin goes, I mean, Bitcoin from that level right now is approximately 65% away. We never even got close to that kind of a capitulation that we got at COVID. Yes, there was more positions liquidated than what happened there, but that's because there's way more leverage in the market now. There's way more money in the market in general. But as far as a percent ratio, I mean, it wasn't even close to the same scale there. So that's another reason why I say that this dump doesn't necessarily have to be over, and why I'm still open to the idea of holding my one short position in case we lose this support. But I do think that Bitcoin will see some sort of a bounce, just because the support level that I laid out, there's that liquidity to the upside. It's just that I don't really see us going to new all-time highs, or if we do, I see it being the exact same type of swing fail that we've seen twice already, because it obviously keeps wrecking people, because people were totally blindsided by this one, even though it already happened back here once. People are very quick to forget, or just don't maybe have an eye for analysis and, looking at basic market structure and keeping their guts feelings out of it, right? So it's very possible we end up seeing the same thing if we pull a fib from our current all-time highs down to where we bottomed on Friday's capitulation. And notice that swing fail pocket, treating it the same, would go to approximately 130,000. So it's very possible that if we end up actually getting a bounce all the way up there, grabbing all of those liquidations up there, I think we would see retail longs stepping in so heavy on that FOMO breakout of all-time highs again, and it would be the perfect recipe to just absolutely dump us again and start a bear market. Not saying it has to happen, but I just want to put them on your radar, because so many people were blindsided last week, and I was trying real hard to keep it on people's radar that a rejection at resistance was absolutely possible. So the more we prepare for something, the more natural it seems at the time. Whereas if we first see this, of me talking bearishly of these levels when we're actually trading there, it becomes a lot harder to agree with that analysis, because it's the first you're hearing of it. But if we're planning for this, looking at it with a level head ahead of time, we can plan rationally about that level, just like I was doing with this level. I was planning for it down here when I told you guys about going long down here from a bullish Stuber fib. I was already eyeing up that potential swing fail setup, and it ended up happening. It's not that it had to by any means. Just like right now, we don't have to go up here. We don't have to go lower. The market doesn't give a shit about my opinions or my feelings. So it's going to do what it's going to do. So the best thing that we can do is back test strategies before we trade, and just play the chart for what it is, right? One trade at a time. Just take a deep breath, zoom out a little bit. That's another thing. Do a bunch of back testing, you guys. This replay feature on Tradingview, probably the most important thing you could ever learn in trading, is using that. People and most traders would way rather lose 10 grand than to put in 10 hours of homework and back test some charts to see if it's worth trading those setups. That is so important. So important to keep a level head when trading. So very important there. So you can come up with some sort of a systematic trade setup. And guys, those of you who want more examples of how I'm pulling fibs, how I look at market structure, some of my trade setup ideas, just my overall thoughts on the market in general, Do yourselves a favor, scan that QR code, get in my Telegram channel. Because like I said, guys, I mean, if any of these moves totally blindsided you, I mean, there's nothing magical here. I was just really level-headed about the whole approach. Even when I told you guys that I was going short at about 125K, I just basically said that even though I was bullish, I was still going to ladder into this as a hedge short to protect myself. I would not have been able to sleep had I tried to go to bed knowing that we were trading at macro resistance with overlapping micro resistance. I would not have been able to sleep if I didn't protect myself from that move. So that's why it happened. And at one point I had a beautiful long and a beautiful short running, both called out live on this channel and in the group. It's a very stress-free position to be in, and it can stop you from making silly mistakes, right? And that's exactly how I feel right now. That, hey, I'm already in a nice little long position if we end up climbing from here. If we continue dumping, I get stopped out on that. My short takes over, so be it. I'm happy to go either way at this point. I'm still hopeful that altcoins will go for a bit of a run. Right now, a lot of them look nasty, right? Just using the MDX Trendmaster, for example, with the Ethereum. On the 4 hour, I've been warning about this. We got a lower sell signal, lower buy signal. Solana, we got that lower sell signal. And this happened before it got cut down by about 35%, guys. We got that call right about here. Hype, it got a call right about here. It literally dropped 50% when we got that lower sell signal. BNB, I was warning that, hey, yeah, we got a good recovery. Everyone was starting to get bullish into resistance again. I warned in the Telegram about, maybe it does break out, but just be careful because we were starting to trade at resistance. And so far seeing a bit of a rejection there. If I bring up the Algo Master with the auto fibs, it agrees with me about basically where my fibs are, right? So I have it laid out from this high back here to where we bottomed out there. And notice that wick came into my swing fail pocket, and then we start getting a bit of a rejection there. And the auto Stuber fibs line up with mine perfectly there. And that also means that my purple box down here, so more so where we're looking at a retest of support, just like with Bitcoin, notice that the bearish Stuber fib target lines up with the bullish Stuber fib pocket. That's what the 214, basically the opposite of the 786, right? So that's kind of the theory there. Troll, you guys, honestly, this is kind of funny, and it would be so funny to see, but honestly, in my opinion, as far as structure goes, Troll has one of the best looking altcoin charts out of all the altcoins that I've been looking at. It has had a very significant drop. I don't want to make light of it. It saw a 75% correction, but that's because it's a low cap meme coin, not such low cap anymore. But at this point, it's under $100 million market cap. So it's a low cap meme coin. These things are extremely volatile. It did about a 30x and then had this consolidation. And if you're not looking at the actual percentages, but looking at the actual chart structure, we broke out of a falling wedge, a massive consolidation. We came back, retested my swing fail pocket. Then from there, we end up getting a perfect Stuber fib here, all on the 4 hour. So right now, as long as it holds above these lows, or basically above, 6 cents. So that's still a fairly big drop to the downside, because again, it is super volatile. But again, as far as structure goes, as long as crypto doesn't totally go full nuclear on us in the next little bit here, I think that this is one of those coins that is positioned to do well. I mean, obviously not financial advice. Do your own research, form your own opinions. I'm not really a fundamental guy, but as far as, high risk degenerate meme coins, this is one that I've been very vocal about, that I've been buying the dip, because honestly, that just looks like healthy consolidation. If it's wrong, whatever, I'm just taking some of the profits I made shorting and buying this dip with it. So if it goes to zero from there, I guess so be it, right? Only invest what you're comfortable losing. As it stands right now, 5 minutes still looking pretty good here. Let me just check the chat here. You guys, if you have been appreciating these live streams, because guys, it has been very hard for most people to keep a level head in these market conditions. But those of you who have been here with me, hopefully I've been able to help you through that process, because really every major move here, we were basically calling on live streams. Every time we were starting to set up resistance, in the Telegram, also posting about it. I mean, we have just been all over this bearish trend, while most people on Twitter just seem like they're absolutely blindsided by it. Not just Twitter or X, but just social media in general. So many people, even with large followings, even respected traders, saying how unpredictable this move was. Guys, we were so ready for it for so many reasons. And if you do appreciate that, make sure you do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel if you haven't. And yeah, that goes a long way for a new channel like this. So I hope you guys are not only surviving, but I hope you are thriving in these market conditions, because this volatility is fun as long as you're looking at it from an unbiased point of view and just looking at volatility for what it is. This has been a lot of fun. Good to see some familiar faces, you guys. Red Panda, good to see you here as always, my friend. Dan Rab, good to see you. Brian, Habu, so many people that I see here showing up basically every stream. So thumbs up to you guys as well. You're obviously willing to put in the work and learn a little bit about charting rather than just looking for that warm, fuzzy hopium clickbait of, hey guys, we're going so much higher, and just saying alt season starts now every single day. You know, I don't want to be that guy, right? I'm approaching this with a level head, trying to be the voice of reason. And the fact that you guys are here rather than looking at that total hopium and the doom and gloom, right? I'm trying to approach things from both sides. So, you know, if you're here, you're actually willing to put in the work to learn the skill of trading and learn how to read charts and that sort of thing. VBT ACD only got 2 orders, one on the 886, one halfway between the 886 and the 115. Are you talking about the bearish one then? Dan Rab, good to see you here. What's up? Brian, hope all is well, my friend. Good time to buy. It depends. I think that Bitcoin has topped this cycle or is very close to a top. But this is much more a buy level for me at this point rather than a sell level, right? I mean, I was selling at resistance. I'd rather buy support. I would say it's a buy level, but understand that that doesn't mean we're going to new all-time highs. We might just be getting a bounce. I mean, let's just look at, let's just pull bullish fib to show you where my first targets are basically. Would be something like that. So my first target would basically be around 108.5. I would be front running it. So my first take profit, I believe, is 108.433 or 444, something like that. My second one is just slightly front running my 214 fib as always. And then from there, if the second half of my position can run and go to all-time highs, great. If not, whatever, it'll be risk-free. But yeah, this morning I had mentioned in my Telegram that I was putting in long orders, basically starting at my 786 down to my 115. So I'm in from the 786 on a long. I'm not spot buying. I spot bought a little bit of altcoins, like I said, things like Troll. But I just kind of use shorting profits to do that. How high are we expecting BTC and Ethereum to bounce? Honestly, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it right now because basically be ready for anything, because there's liquidity trapped right back at all-time highs. So we could go and do this same exact fake out a third time in a row and go closer to 130K. But let's turn that indicator off, bring the trend master back on, and we already have resistance at this point starting at around 110, 111K. So it kind of depends what you look at. No matter how you look at it, Bitcoin has a ton of resistance ahead at this point. We broke such serious structure, you guys, even though it's just a wick down here. Well, now we have candles closing below this low here, which is a huge change in structure. So I don't know how far we're going to bounce. I will be taking profits along the way with on my long if given the opportunity. but I am not all that interested in closing my short. I am keeping my stop loss break even here because I think we eventually set lower prices. Ethereum, Ethereum's dangerous right now because it never did make it back down to the support levels that I like to see, because I like to dip back to at least the 786 like what Bitcoin did. Now that could mean that there's some strength here, or it could mean that we're just getting a little bit of an early bounce. We have those lower trending sell signals and buy signals. That's a nasty trend reversal warning right there. So we might just be coming back up to retest resistance and then set new lows. I don't know. There's a lot of things that don't look too good right now. I have my concerns about the market, honestly, you guys. What's the difference between BTC USD and the BTC USD tether? So the USDT tether I use on the shorter time frames, like the 4 hour and the 5 minute, anything 4 hour and lower. I use USDT because I'm looking at perpetuals, because I'm trading with leverage. The BTC US dollar, this is just the oldest Bitcoin chart I know of on Bitstamp. So when I look at the weekly, that's why I'm using that one. That's all. It just has the most information. BTC, like the index price. Oh, that one actually set a lower low, hey? So we actually have a lower low there, in which case we could do something like this, and there is a bearish Stuber fib there. That being said, at least there's a confirmed lower high. So if we can break that structure there, things are actually looking a lot better. Can I look at Aster? Actually, guys, I am about to wrap up here, but I will do a little bit of Aster analysis in my Telegram channel after here. I want to take a look at a couple different time frames on that one, so I will take a look on that. So if that is something, again, guys, if you want to see more examples of how I'm looking at market structure, how I'm pulling fibs, how I'm using indicators for my favorite trade strategies and all that sort of good stuff, do me a favor. First of all, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. And also, if you want more examples of how I look at charts, how I'm looking at the markets, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code there. I will have a few more charts coming in there tonight yet. So with that, thank you so much for being here with me once again, my friends. Please stay safe out there. Be careful. The markets are extremely volatile. Always understand how much you may possibly lose on a setup before taking a trade, because these charts are a lot more volatile than they look right now. The ranges are a lot more massive than they look. So be careful with that. Again, go back, do back testing if you're, looking at trading a new strategy or anything like that. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends.